This video is sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. If you would like to pre-order anything from the upcoming set Lost Caverns of Ixalan, check out my link in the description. Hey guys, welcome back to Geek and Seek. With the release of Lost Caverns of Ixalan just around the corner, I thought it would be fun to go back and revisit some of my favorite cards from the last time we visited Ixalan a few years ago. Some of these are kind of stapley, so maybe you'll recognize some of them, but some of them are also just some of my personal favorites, so especially if you're newer or didn't play much around then, maybe these are some cool new cards for you to test out. Quick honorable mention to Atali Primal Storm, Revel in Riches, and Growing Rights of Ixalan. I think most people know these cards, so I didn't want to spend too much time talking about them, but it is worth noting that Growing Rights of Ixalan is getting reprinted in Lost Caverns of Ixalan, so that's pretty nice. Starting the list proper, we have Wily Goblin for 2 red mana. It's a 1/1 Goblin Pirate that when it enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token. Auto-include in Pirate decks, auto-include in Goblin decks, obviously. But it is a 2-mana creature that's going to give you something right away, the treasure token, which will let you ramp into bigger spells later on. So I think this actually does have some playability outside of Goblin and Pirate decks, or even treasure decks. It's going to be good in like Perfuro style decks where you just want to play a lot of creatures and deal damage that way. Because it's a 1/1, it dies to Skull Clamp if that's something you want to go for. I think on its face, it does look like a card that doesn't have that many homes, but I think it's more playable than people give it credit for. Next up is Vanquisher's Banner. 5-mana artifact, enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1, and whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. This is another one that people probably know. It's been reprinted a couple times. If you're playing for the card draw effect, I would say you're probably actually better off just playing like Kindred Discovery or something like that. But especially if you're playing a tribal deck that doesn't have access to Kindred Discovery because you're not in blue, this is pretty good. This is also pretty nice in tribal decks that have smaller creatures. That little bit of buff might help you get in for more damage. So pretty good in most tribal decks. All right, here's a weird one. This is Axis of Mortality for 4 white enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may have 2 target players exchange life totals. A couple episodes ago on our Commander gameplay series, I played a mono black life swap deck. Since that video, I have turned it into a black-white deck, and I've added this in there for obvious reasons. It's life swap. But I think this has at least a little bit of playability outside of that. It is an enchantment if you want to play the enchantment route. But also, if one player is really far ahead or you're getting ganged up on, this is a way to kind of turn the tides a little bit. And how many times have we been in where it's like, oh, arch enemy, they need knocked out of the game, but like, oh, we're just a couple points of damage away. You could probably use this politically to turn the tides a little bit in that way as well. So yes, play this in life swap, but I think you could also play this in political style decks and some enchantment decks as well. And you could meta game if there's like a life gain deck or something in your play group, you could do that as well. Next up is Siren Storm Tamer for 1 blue mana. It's a 1/1 Siren Pirate Wizard with flying. And you can pay 1 and sacrifice it to counter a spell or ability that targets you or a creature you control. I do have this in my CEDH deck for obvious reasons, but it's also really good as a value piece in like Voltron decks. If you are just pumping up one creature that you need to keep around, this is a great way to help protect it, while also just giving you an extra body on the board if you need it. And it has some relevant creature types, being a wizard, being a pirate. Those are relevant creature types. So I think this card deserves more play than it gets. Next up is one of my favorites from back in Standard. This is Settle the Wreckage. For 2 white, instant, exile all attacking creature target player controls, and then they get to find that many basics to put onto the battlefield tapped. This is really good in the modern meta where people are like, oh, basics are not that good. I'm gonna play a bunch of dual lands, and you're seeing way more like 4 and 5 color piles running around, especially in Commander. So this could theoretically be, I'm going to get rid of all your creatures and you're only going to find a couple lands. Like they might not have enough basics to replace all of their creatures, which is funny. But especially if you're playing a deck that's going to be leaving mana up a lot, you should be playing this card. Yeah, I mean, it's not like a true board wipe, right? You're only going to be able to take care of one opponent and only the creatures they choose to attack you with. However, the exile cannot be understated, especially with so many indestructible creatures running around nowadays. The last card I want to highlight today is Pitiless Plunderer. For 3 and a black, it's a 1/4 human pirate. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. This is combo potential at its peak. My brother Steven just built a Chatterfang deck, and this is a piece of, I think, 2 or 3 different combos in the deck, but also it's just good if you're just playing a sacrifice deck in general. And then, yes, it is a pirate, so you could just be running it in a pirate deck for value. It makes treasure, so you could just be playing in a treasure deck for value, but its ceiling is so much higher than that with the combo potential. So if you're playing a sacrifice deck, if you're playing a Chatterfang deck, you're looking for some sweet combos, this is a card you need to be keeping in mind. But that is a few original Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan cards I wanted to highlight in preparation for Lost Caverns of Ixalan coming out in a couple days. And if you would like to pre-order anything from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, don't forget to check out my link in the description of this video. Thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring this video. And if you like this video, check out this video similar to this I made a couple months ago, where I was talking about original Eldraine cards in preparation for Wilds of Eldraine coming out. And then also, if you'd like to support the show, like and subscribe and check out some of our other videos as well. I'll see you guys next time.